Bloomberg Audio Studios. Podcasts, radio, news.
SailPoint is back on the market. The security company went public for the second time last week. The first time it went public back in 2017 before Thoma Bravo took SailPoint private in 2022. Thoma Bravo, of course, has been very much looking for this IPO market to open back up, and SailPoint is a critical part of that. For more on the decision to go public, again, we're joined by Mark McClain, SailPoint's CEO. When you spoke to our colleagues over here at Bloomberg News, you talked a lot about the use of proceeds, the grand ambition here about going public. At the end of the day, what do you think the first priorities are for you? Is it paying down that debt or looking for expansion opportunities?
I think the primary was to pay down debt, Sonali, but I think we see ourselves kind of as a long-term growth business. So in some ways it was putting some fuel in the tank, as it were, and kind of getting ourselves ready for what we believe is a multi-year growth opportunity. So yeah, it was kind of get the debt down to a manageable level and then get ready for future growth.
I do want to talk about the timing a little bit. Of course, this is your return to the public markets. You listed on the New York Stock Exchange in 2017. Then you went private when Thoma Bravo acquired you in 2022. Now you're back again, which is a pretty quick turnaround. Just talk us through that.
Yeah, I think, to be honest, Katie, and by the way, just a piece of data, you probably know, we were owned by Thoma Bravo before the first IPO, so it's a little bit of a back and forth thing, not a terribly common story, I guess. But I think we were kind of, when we did the go private in 22, thinking of a little longer time frame to come back. And I think two things are true. One is we've been fortunate to have a very good, amount of growth over the last few years and kind of shifted to a more profitable profile. So that kind of desirable scale growth profit profile that markets like. And then, of course, the markets have warmed up a bit, obviously, in the last 3 to 4 months. And so I think it was that combination of being ready, having kind of a hopefully attractive profile for the public markets, and then kind of ready to pull that trigger when the market started to warm up. And we felt like the time was right to do that.
You can tell your story, Mark, with your growth, and Wall Street likes to see the numbers. But in terms of just the elevator pitch, I always find it so difficult to understand what these software solutions providers do. And in your notes, it says you equip modern enterprise to seamlessly manage and secure access to applications. Like, what is that?
What does that mean?
How do you tell your butcher what your company does?
I usually say my grandmother, but she's deceased, and probably the butcher is a better metaphor. I think at the end of the day, there's what everybody does all day, every day, and they get this, is they log into systems, right? We all have a whole bunch of accounts and passwords, so everybody gets that concept. What SailPoint's focused on is ensuring that in an enterprise, a mid to large scale enterprise, where there might be tens or even hundreds of thousands of human identities, and now increasingly what we call non-human identities, think software programs, and now AI agents is all the rage. All those identities have access to systems and data, right? That's generally some kind of an account and a password. Well, keeping all of that accurate and what's called in the security realm least privilege. In other words, any identity should have exactly what they need or it needs to do the job and no more. Well, keeping that accurate and adhering to security policy is really hard. And that's what big enterprises have struggled with, because all those systems are from different vendors, right? They've got Workday and Salesforce and ServiceNow and Microsoft apps and Oracle and all kinds of stuff from 20 or 30 or 50 years of IT. And getting all that to stay in sync and to be secure and accurate is a very hard problem. That's what SailPoint's focused on, is the right access to the right data for every identity in their enterprise.
I'm glad you bring up AI. I've been asking ChatGPT to log into some of my applications and do some stuff for me, right, rather than just answer stupid questions. And so far, it can't. Are you going to enable that kind of technology? How soon do you see that kind of thing being able to work?
Well, there are some places, your ChatGPT, Matt, is, doing this to you, as I guess it should. Yeah. But I think at the end of the day, there is a sense that people want to automate and streamline things while maintaining security. And that's the tension, right? There's a tension that's existed forever in the realm of technology, which is convenience and things go fast and easy is what business users want, and control and security is what kind of the protection mindset people want, right? So there's always a tension there. And AI is just, in some ways, the latest, maybe most dramatic iteration of, wow, super cool tech. We can do a lot with this. We can accelerate our business, go do amazing things. And the security folks are going, oh, tap the brakes, like not sure exactly if we understand what access to what data is happening here, and all these controls we put in place to protect our business and its information might be getting run over in that realm. So there's a tension there, and we're pretty early, obviously, in this dynamic, right? So we're one of the companies that's kind of in the thick of that with all these providers of business application technology and LLMs and AI models and all that good stuff, and then these security professionals in these enterprises that are trying to make sure they let their business succeed, but do so in a way that protects its information. And that's just a hard problem, and we're kind of at the center of helping big enterprises solve that problem.
You know, Mark, on the show, we like to have our guests talk about their business, but also about their market experience. And you got a lot of credit here for being one of the first to market this year. Of course, this is an IPO market that a lot of investors have been waiting to open back up. The first week has been choppy. What would you say to people that are looking to go public right now? Is it a good time? Is the window really small, frankly?
It's such a good question. We've wrestled with it both. I will give you a little perspective that, you know, everybody's got their view of what's happened, even in our case, for about a week now, right? I mean, we priced kind of between 19 and 21 on the cover of the S1. We raised the filing range from 21 to 23 and priced at the high end of that range, and then upsized our offering. So we did a lot of things that kind of said we weren't set up for a big run up. We were focused on getting out at the right price in the market to kind of balance two things, frankly, right? Thoma Bravo, our primary owner, wants good liquidity out of the deal, and we want to set ourselves up for long-term market success with a lot of the same long-term investors that own SailPoint for 5 years in the market before. So there was some tension there. And again, I like to say, if you're in my seat, you didn't do this for a one-day pop or even a week pop. We're thinking months and years of business success. You know, I won't plan on necessarily this kind of multiple. We went public the first time in 17 at a little over $1 billion. We sold to Thoma Bravo less than 5 years later for $7 billion. So we think we understand something about how to grow once we're in the market, and we just don't focus on the day-to-day. A semi-famous phrase I developed on our first public offering timing was to our own team internally. I said, look, every second you spend watching the stock price, you're doing nothing to help the stock price, right? Like, watching stock movements day all day is what you all and a bunch of investors do. Our team's job is to go build great solutions and win in the market. And I always say, if we do that well, the stock price will take care of itself.
I hear what you're saying. If I were the CEO of a company, I would just stare at my stock price all day. So I really respect the discipline there. I do want to get your thoughts on the broader landscape, the broader competitive landscape, because you're the first cyber IPO in quite a while. I believe the last one was Rubrik back in April. Do you think that your debut may encourage some of your peers to come out of the pipeline and test the public markets?
I think there's, and beyond security, Katie, but I think all around the market, people have been kind of watching and waiting. Is it time to get back out there? And like I say, depending on how close you are to our story, in our minds, we thought we were going to come out at the midpoint of our original filing range of 20. We've been trading in the 24, 25 range. So in our minds, that's great. And we think we're going to, over time, be able to move up from there if we continue to deliver results. So I think people were watching us, watching kind of the market receptivity. You know, can't comment on the volume or the level of this, but it was kind of reported that there was an oversubscription thing here, meaning there was a lot of interest in the investor world. I think the market, as you all know, has been hungry for some more IPOs. So I think there's an interest, and they're looking for the right profiles of companies. And then I think back to your question a little more, Katie, I think at the end of the day, cybersecurity is still a very good market, right? If there's nothing else that's true, everybody's very well aware we are far from solving this. Matter of fact, we will never solve cybersecurity, right? It's just a cat and mouse. There's going to be new ways of tackling it. You know, a very common question we get is AI good for you or bad for you? And I say yes, right? Like, welcome to cyber, right? It's going to be a tool that helps us do what we do better, and it's going to help the bad actors do what they do better. So we're just going to continue to be helping companies protect themselves against a set of bad actors, nation states, criminals, et cetera, that are trying to disrupt them, steal data, you know, et cetera. So I think we're very confident that this is a great market. And then within that, back to Matt's question of explaining this to your friend, the butcher, right? Identity is a very interesting subsector of security because it's probably the newest subsector, meaning for decades, we've been working on network security and device security or endpoint security. You know, we know names like Palo Alto, we know names like CrowdStrike and all that. identity security is a relatively newer concept, right? There's a handful of names there. And the market got a little enamored with this single sign-on thing, which is kind of all the rage a decade ago. Mm-hmm. And that's an important piece. It's far from the comprehensive need, though, that customers have to secure their enterprise and all its data. So I think we're still maturing. We're still maturing in this market.
All right, that's a good place to leave it. Mark, great to get some time with you. Hope to speak to you again soon. That is Mark McClain of SailPoint.